Welcome to Beyond the Breakwater, where just beyond the crashing waves of fear, discomfort, and doubt lies the greatest potential for life transformation. We want to guide you into the open waters where the calculated risk you take becomes the turning point for you or your organization to thrive. So draw up your anchors and prepare for departure in this week's episode of Beyond the Breakwater. All right, we are back with another episode of Beyond the Breakwater. I'm Lyndsay and this is Ed, and today we are literally going to take our listeners beyond the breakwater. Now, if you are listening right now, I would really encourage you to go over to YouTube and search Beyond the Breakwater and watch, because we have pictures and videos that we want to share with you. And so that will just give you that visual element as well as the audio piece. But Ed, what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, last week we talked about being in a harbor and the transition right up to the breakwater. That's where we left it off for our listeners. Today I want to go beyond now. And I've been out beyond the breakwater many times in the boat, and I know it's a different experience than talking about it. And so what we're going to try to do today is bring people along so that maybe they can experience what we experienced out there. So just last week, I invited you to come along, and we got on a boat and we went through the transitional piece between the two breakwaters, and then we entered into the lake. Now, if I would set the stage, on Lake Michigan, which is where we're from Michigan, so we went to Lake Michigan at South Haven. Anytime the winds are above 10 miles an hour, typically there's only a few boats, if any boats. And with every degree, if it goes 11 mile an hour winds, 12 mile an hour winds, that particular day, I was a little concerned because the winds were at 12 miles an hour and they were increasing. And the longer that you're out there, the higher the waves are. So I knew it was going to be rough. And when we were going through the breakwater, I was driving the boat and I started to look and I realized that there's not a boat on the lake, zero. As the driver of the boat, that's a little bit unsettling, because you realize if you run into a problem, you're on your own. And so we grabbed the life jackets, and we had them, on the floor ready to go just in case we needed them. I had the confidence in the boat because I had been out many times, even in weather like that. And we went beyond the breakwater. And I just remember kind of watching you and Daniel, who were with me, and the waves were about 5 feet that day. That's a lot. Winds were strong, waves were high. The boat is really starting to get, it's really rocking. And then we went beyond. So I just want to maybe turn it over to you to see, what were you feeling? What was it like for you to go beyond the breakwater, beyond the safety of the breakwaters?
Yeah, so that was my first time ever being out beyond a breakwater. Like, I have only ever had experience in inland lakes where it's very, very, very calm. And when we stepped on the boat, and even just going out and approaching, we're getting closer and closer outside the harbor. We're getting closer to the open seas. Let's just say we had Burger King for lunch, and we were going to be seeing it a second time at some point that day.
We fed the fish. You fed the fish.
Yes, I started feeling super sick. And there were all these feelings of as we got closer to the open seas, I remember thinking okay, I wonder if before we go out, we can just go back to land really quick. I'll stand on solid ground for just a little bit and then jump back in the boat. Nope. Mind over matter. We're going to keep going. And so we got out on the waves, and it was incredibly turbulent. I remember you sharing with me that this was one of your favorite things to do was to be out on Lake Michigan. And I was just how does he enjoy this? You can't just put the boat in neutral and have a peaceful sit. There is no peace about being out there, at least for me. I had no rest from the seasickness that I was feeling, whether we decided to kick it into gear and go and cut through the waves, whatever that meant, because it still felt wavy to me, or if we just were sitting there. I never really got rest from the sick.
Let's pause for a minute and let's bring everybody along, because this is about churches seeking those who are lost. There's not anybody, I've never seen anybody swimming in the harbor, ever. And if Jesus came to seek and save the lost, and he told Peter, you're going to be fishers of men. That's what you're going to be, a fisher of men. You're going to go out and you're going to seek for people. There was nobody in the breakwater. There's nobody in the harbor. So if we use this analogy, we're lost people. They're not in the safety of the harbor. Because if you're in the safety of the harbor and you're drowning, well, swim 20 feet and you find a dock. But it's when you go beyond the breakwater. That's where people are. And we have to realize in our ministries and in the world that they're out in a place that's more dangerous, in a place that's very difficult. It's not easy to go. You were nauseous. It was hard. We had to make sure the boat was ready and really ready to be going out. And were we safe? Did I have all the equipment ready to go? Did we have the life jackets ready to go? Was everything ready and prepared for whatever we were going to face in the open seas? And when we got out there, I remember turning around at one point, and the boat was really going crazy and on the waves. And I said, how are you guys doing? And do you remember what you said?
Yeah, I said, I'm feeling nauseous, but I trust you.
I learned something at that moment because I realized that there has to be some kind of a trust in who's leading. And I just automatically, it was like one of those things of churches need to trust the pastor who's following Christ and to say, we're going together. We're going to go out together. And I was, unbeknownst to you guys, just praying for safety the whole time, praying that God would be with us, protect us, help us, and help you guys to learn everything that he wanted you to learn. And I remember at one point, it was kind of funny. You told me that you had never driven a boat. And I thought, well, this is going to be kind of a hard place to learn how to drive a boat because the waves are really crashing, almost over the bow. And so I said, here, Lyndsay, you take the wheel and you get to drive for a while. And so you jumped up there and I was up by you and I just said, all right, Lyndsay, what are you looking for? Now, I got to set the stage. We were the only boat on Lake Michigan, as far as you could see.
If you're online, if you're on YouTube, you can see it in this
There's
picture.
Not one boat anywhere. And I said to you, okay, Lyndsay, what are you looking for?
And with full confidence, I said, boats.
And I just bust out laughing. I'm like, Lyndsay, look around. There's no boats. What are you looking for a boat for? There's no boats here. You're not going to crash into a boat. And then when I told you what you're looking for, it was, I saw the change in you. I said, you're looking for people in the water. And that changed everything. Because for any boater knows this, your number one priority is looking for people in the water.
And I think that changed my field of vision. When I was looking for boats, I was scanning the horizon. And when you said, look for people, my view shifted down to what was in front of me and around me. Because with those waves too, you're not going to see a person that's immediately next to your boat because that wave is in the way. So you're constantly scanning what is right in front of you.
Right. I think that's the best image for the church. The church needs to be looking right in front of it, across the street. Who are the neighbors? Who are the people in the community? And you're always looking for that one person. You're not looking for 100 people. Jesus said he left the 99 to go after the one. And so when you're on the open seas, it doesn't matter. You don't expect to see somebody, but you're always looking for that one person. And imagine if that one person, is drowning and they're struggling, and then you come by, you're a rescue to them. I mean, that's a lifesaver to them. That's what Jesus is. That's what the church needs to be. But the church can't sit in the harbor and say to a drowning person who's beyond the breakwater, hey, you know where we are. Come to us. Just come on, swim. You'll make it. If a drowning person is going to swim all the way back, they're not going to go to where your church is, because in their time of need, where were you? So the church has to go beyond the breakwater, always looking for one. And we were out for a couple hours. We didn't see one person, but we were constantly scanning, looking for that one, because it might be a capsized boat. It might be somebody who's got a life jacket or not have a life jacket. You never know. And so you're always watching, always looking. And that should be the church's mission, to look for one. Luke 15 has 3 stories. One of them is the 99 sheep. Jesus left the 99, went for the one. When he found the one, I love what the Bible says about it. Jesus said, there's more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner that repents than over 99 who don't need to repent. That tells you that when that one person, is saved, all of heaven rejoices. That should be the number one mission of the church. We want heaven to be rejoicing every day. So that means we got to be on the lookout and always go seeking. And then the second one is the coin, and it's a woman who had 10 coins, loses one. And she searches everywhere. See, she's intentionally looking for that lost coin. When she finds it, she calls all of her friends and says, celebrate with me, because she found her lost coin. And then there's Jesus goes a little bit closer to home, the lost son, who goes off and squanders everything and then comes back. And he said, we had to celebrate this son of mine who was lost and is now saved. I remember when we were out in the water and we were always looking for people. And I asked Daniel, he's our worship leader, and I just said, what would it feel like if your son was in the water? And boy, he got this look on his face and he said, man, do everything to save my son. Yeah. How many of us in the church have sons, daughters, grandkids, friends that are in the water? And the church's singular mission, should be looking. And how do we come alongside that person? But Lyndsay, I'll be the first to tell you it's really scary out there. I have to tell you a little story. So a couple weeks before you guys came out, I had never been out on Lake Michigan when it was really rough, okay? Usually when it was like 9 miles an hour less, I would go out. But it was another day. It was 12 or 13 mile an hour winds. And I took the boat out. And when I got to the breakwater, I was the only one. And it's different. It was a different feeling for me. When I was with you and Daniel, I felt more secure. But when I was out there by myself, and I felt this incredible fear. And I think churches can feel the same thing. We don't know what to do. We don't know how to do it. Is the boat going to be okay? Am I going to capsize? Am I going to have to swim home? What am I going to have to do? So I remember this incredible feeling of fear. And I said, okay, Lord, I've never done this before, but I'm going to face this fear. And I took the boat out, and I didn't go just a little bit out. I mean, I went out about 500 yards. I mean, think about 5 football fields out, and you know how wavy it was. And I said, okay, I'm not going to turn off the engine, because if the engine doesn't start, now I'm really in trouble. So I left the engine run, and I just put it in neutral, and I actually just stayed out there in this crazy, wavy place. And I just was feeling, and I started to write down, what am I feeling? And I just felt like it was one of those times that God was just like ministering to me. What are you so afraid of? I'm afraid of capsizing. He said, trust the boat. And you know what? I started to settle in, and I realized the boat's not going to capsize. And I was like, okay, God, it's not going to capsize. Why am I so afraid? Because of the unknown. It's everything I didn't know.
So let's talk about the boat real quick, because there are boats of different sizes. You mentioned, I think it was in the previous episode, that not all boats are meant to go out there, at least very far beyond the breakwater.
Right.
So what does it take for a boat to be ready? And can you compare that to the church?
Yeah, well, I think a church has to find out who they are. Like, what are they really good at? And then that becomes their ministry. But their ministry always has to be with a purpose to seek and to save the lost. So if they're really good in kids ministries, what can they do in kids ministries to encourage the community and go out into the community? Remember, there was a day, not too many decades ago, that churches had buses, and they would go into the community and they would pick up kids and they would bus them back to church. See, the church went out beyond the breakwater to invite kids to be in a kids ministry. So what's a church good at? What gifts is a church? Are they a fishing church? Are they entertainment church? What kind of a church are they? And I think every church has to go, all right, how can we use whatever we have and go beyond the breakwater? And you might have a really big church. You might have a really small church. It doesn't matter. You just take people out and you go out individually. So individuals are going beyond the breakwater. It's really scary for a person. Tell a person to go into their workplace and be Jesus. And when somebody's hurting, to say, can I pray with you? That might be the most petrifying thing for somebody to do. That's like a person in a dinghy, just a tiny little boat, going out and going, oh, I'm really scared. Mm-hmm. This person, I'm going to invite them or ask to pray with them. And you're scared to do it because you don't know if they're going to reject you or if they're going to, report you for doing something wrong. And then churches can do what individuals can't. That's the beauty of a church. What can the church do collectively?
What do you mean by that?
Okay, well, see, in our case, and I know we've talked a little bit about this. I mean, like we're running a grocery store, and we charge 5 cents over what we pay for it. So we have one boat of our church is a grocery store, and it goes out and it anchors right in the middle of this whole Alice community where they're coming in and buying food for 5 cents over. That's one of our boats that goes and anchors out and throughout the week. We have another one that's a garage. It's an automotive garage, licensed repair facility with a dealership. They go out on Monday morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. They're out there and they're servicing cars. You see, that's their ministry. And people are coming into the automotive garage because they need help with their car. But I think Jesus is breaking cars every day so that they'll come to our garage and meet him through the people. So we have different boats, different ministries that are going out Monday through Saturday, right where the people are. And they're strategically placing themselves or these boats in a place where there's a need. And that's what we get to do. So I want to go just a little bit further in this about what does a church look like. It looks a little bit more like a marina. But before we do that, I just want to, real quick, when we were out beyond the breakwater in ridiculous waves, you did something that was a hoot. What did you do?
I was like, where are you going with this? I went water skiing.
You went water skiing. We're the only boat in Lake Michigan. Waves are 4 feet, 5 feet. And then Lyndsay jumps in the water and says, I want to go water skiing. So we did.
You were in the water too, though.
I was in the water too.
A little bit more gracefully than I went in.
But there's a lesson there. We jumped in the water. Daniel stayed in the boat. We jumped in the water. And we actually put a tube out behind the boat. That was our lifeline. See, we were being cautious out there, but we were in life jackets. And I think this is what the church needs to realize what a life jacket is. That when you're in the open water and you're unsaved, you have no life jacket and you can drown and you can die and you could die without Jesus. What happens when a person gets saved is that Jesus gives them a life preserver, a life jacket. That's what Christ is. See, he put the life jacket on us. And I know we got a picture of this, of us in the water. It didn't matter how big the waves were. We couldn't drown. We could not drown because we had a life jacket on. Now, what does this mean for the church? The church should be handing out all the life jackets to everybody on Sunday morning. Put your jackets on and go to work. Put your jacket on, go to school. Put your jacket on, go serve. Put your jacket on and go help the community. Put your jacket on and strategically put yourself in a place that can feel very dangerous beyond the breakwater. Can't die. But you get to float with somebody. They might not even want to be saved, but you get to float with them. And, when we meet people every day in these ministries, I think salvation is the last thing on their mind. They just need help with a car. Okay, can we just float together for a few minutes? What's going on in your life? How are things going? And I just have to say, like, when they come into the garage, it's so fascinating. We do this assessment on a car when they come in because we've learned. Oftentimes, the shape of the inside of their car is telling about what's going on in their life. And we just kind of learn the correlation. So when a car comes up and we assess the car and we see it catastrophic inside, food from last week, you name it. It's really easy because they come in and we're just like, how are you? And they start crying. Because we know something's not right in their life. See, that's the church beyond the breakwater, coming alongside somebody. And then you just kind of touch very simply in a place in their life is, are you doing okay? And they're not.
Is that enough? Because I think sometimes as Christians, we feel this immense pressure to go out and share the gospel or invite them to church. Like that's our end result of what we're hoping to do is we want to meet someone at school. We want to meet someone at work, be Jesus to someone in the grocery store. And I think tangibly what we've only ever known is, okay, I have to invite them to church. If only I could get them to church.
Think about the model. You're beyond the breakwater. You come across somebody who's in the water. Do they know you?
No.
And imagine if you just said, jump in. You might just push them further away. I don't know you. Who are you? Are you going to hurt me? Where are you taking me? I don't know. I don't know you from, we're from this church. I don't know that church. I don't even know who Jesus is. And you're offering sometimes something prematurely. You have to earn trust. The church has to be in a place where they're really caring for people, really deeply, genuinely loving people, not judging them. And you know, when you're out in the open seas, here's an interesting thing. Do you matter? Does it matter who that person is? You want to love them. You want to help them. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter what's going on in their life. It doesn't matter how broken they are. The church has to learn how to love where a person is. Mm-hmm. And when you've gained the trust of somebody, then a lot of times they always ask, this is the one thing that's absolute in all of our ministries. Everybody asks the same two questions in time when they're ready. They'll ask this question, who are you? Simple. I'm a follower of Jesus. What? I don't know what that means. Great. There's your chance to share. And then the second question is, why are you doing this? So think about the boat going out. And you're out there in the water. Who are you? Just followers of Jesus out here. How can we help you? How can we serve you? What do you need from us? You need a cup of water? Jesus said even a cup of water, we've done it for him. So what does a person need who's out there? The needs are so vast in people's lives. The church just needs to love and really care for people. And then they're going to say, who are you? And it's not, I'm a church member. No. Who are you in Christ? And then why are you doing this? Oh, that's an easy question. Mm-hmm. That's an easy question to answer. God showed his love to me, and I just want to love others. Mm-hmm. Oh. And then you get to answer that question. So the end game, you're hoping, is you're going to save them. And as soon as they get out of the water, Jesus gives them this amazing life jacket. That's him. Mm-hmm. We just get to participate with him. We get the privilege to love, to care, to serve, to be with, to help, to comfort, to guide. Mm-hmm. And then Jesus does his work. And then all of a sudden you watch this life jacket go on to them. And that's Jesus putting that life jacket on. And you're like, whoa, you did it again. And all of heaven rejoices. And
when you put it in context of just one person,
yes,
that just changes everything. It changes everything from how, as I was driving that boat, going from looking at the horizon to looking at what's in front of you. You go from dismissing differences that you might have with people or someone looking different than you. Maybe their life is a little bit messy. I think it's easy to end the church, be like, maybe you're not a good fit here, but maybe somewhere else. That person that's drowning, that does not matter.
Nothing matters. Right. You just mm-hmm. love them. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes I think the church is guilty of judging. That's not our job. Don't judge them. They're in the water. Just love the daylights out of them and do everything you can to help them know who Jesus is. Okay, so I want to build on this model because being out there is really, it's fearful. Mm-hmm. I was afraid. I really was. And after 2 hours, I kind of felt like I learned everything God wanted me to learn. And then I went in and I was really happy to be back in. So let me explain the rest of the church. See, not everybody goes out on a boat. So I like to see the church as like a big marina. That when you come in, so when a crew comes in, let's just say from the grocery store, all these volunteers, they come in on Saturday, right? And they get to the dock. The rest of the church is welcoming them. How was the trip? Did anybody get saved? Were you able to serve people? How did you help them? Come on out of the boat. And another crew gets in the boat, cleans up the boat. The mechanic gets into the boat and says, let me make sure that the oil is changed, and we're going to tune it up, and we're going to work on it all weekend long while you guys get some rest. And you got a crew that's replenishing the supplies and getting everything ready. Sunday, the whole church celebrates. That's what Sunday ought to be. And I think believers in Christ forget that when you've been beyond the breakwater all week and you come back in, Sunday becomes a celebration of, look at what God did. And God, we need you. We're getting ready to go out again tomorrow morning. We need your coverage. We need your prayer. We need your help. We trust you. Lead us, because on the lake you can go anywhere. Lead us to the right place. And then Monday morning comes, and the church celebrates, prays. You get back in the boat, a few, and you're out in the breakwater, beyond the breakwater again. But while you're doing that, somebody's replenishing the supplies. See, the beauty of a marina is it gives everybody a purpose. The church, everybody has a purpose. Some are teachers. The teachers should be training and discipleship for mission. The people that are supplying fuel for the boat now have a mission in their life by simply delivering fuel, because they know that they're fueling a boat that's going to be going beyond the breakwater. And so they have a purpose as a truck driver. A mechanic now has a purpose as a mechanic because they're getting the boat ready so that the boat can go out and be safe. You get somebody who's checking the life jackets. Are they snug? Are they tight? Do they fit right? Is everything good? The people that are cooking throughout the week, do you have the supplies that you need to go back out? And imagine a person who gets into the boat who's now rescued, and they come in. The church should be the most welcoming place on planet Earth. That they come in, no matter how messed up they are, no matter how stinky they are for being in the water, no matter how dirty they are, none of that matters. The church should be warmly receiving them. What do they need? Oh, it's been hard out in the water. Do you need a blanket? Do you need food? Do you need shelter? Do you need counseling? Do you need help? What do you need? How can we as a church help and support you? They need community. They need to know they're not alone. But I'll tell you, this is the most amazing thing that we've watched. When somebody gets rescued out of the water, gets enveloped into the church, and they have this new shiny life jacket, they don't want to sit on shore. Usually they're the ones who are saying, I want to go back out. And I can show you where the other people are. And they get back in the boat and they take you out. And then there's just like, oh, I invited so-and-so to come to the food, store. Oh, I invited so-and-so to come and see. I'm volunteering there now. And they're inviting their friends. That's the most amazing part of the church in action.
So as you're sharing what your experience with the church has been, with the church collectively providing, we have a grocery store, we have a healthcare clinic. Not all churches have that, but I'm imagining that some listeners might be listening to this and getting excited of like, okay, put me in, coach, put me in, coach. Where can I go? Where can I go? So where can someone start?
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question. It's so simple. You're going to be surprised. I have written countless Happy Meal messages. You know what I mean by that?
No.
I would go work on a message at Burger King or McDonald's. And I would just go there for a couple hours. Bible open. It's amazing what you learn. You're not intentionally eavesdropping, but you can't help but hear what people are talking about. Those people are beyond the breakwater, in the water. And you start listening and you're writing your message. But now you know who your message is for? Not the club, not the saints and the church. It's now for the person who's in the water. And you're listening while you're writing, and you're praying for these people all around you. They come to the counter and you see a parent with a couple kids, and you begin to pray for that parent, that they would help their kids know who Jesus is. And in your message, you're thinking about kids who need to know Jesus. You're watching the person who's retired, and he comes up and you could see he's struggling with his health. And you're saying, God, how can the church help this person in his health? You begin to change your message. Now, here's the beauty. This is I think one of the most powerful things for a pastor. Now the pastor goes back to church and he's preaching. And he says to the church, I want to take you on a journey with me while I wrote this message. Because he was beyond the breakwater. And now he's inviting the church to join him on the journey. And I was listening and I heard this and I saw this and I watched this and I began to pray. You know what that says to people in the church? Whoa, maybe next time I go to Burger King, I should pray for the people who are in there.
You just gave permission for everyone to do the same thing.
Yes. And all they did was go to fast food and I worked on my message. But God met me there and then used me. And sometimes this is golden. You'll be out there working on a message and inevitably, you'd be shocked at how many people will come up and say, are you a Christian? And you got your Bible wide open. You're like, I am. Can I sit for a minute? Absolutely. And all of a sudden you're floating in the water with somebody who they saw you with a Bible open. And they're like, what are you doing? More people go, what are you doing? Working on my message? For what? For church. Wait, you're a pastor? Yeah. Working on a message at Burger King? Yeah. And sometimes, who are you? See, who are you? Why are you doing this?
You're not in your office?
Questions. You're not in your office.
Yeah.
So I think this is what I would say to every pastor. Get out of your office. Go beyond the breakwater. Go work on a message in a coffee house. Go take your computer and instead of emailing people while you're in your office, go to a coffee house. Go somewhere else. Do your work somewhere else. The funny thing at our church is people know that they're never going to find me in my office, ever. But I'll meet you anywhere you want to meet because I like to meet with people out too because people listen. People listen to conversations and you just want to be Jesus to everybody in that community. So whether you're working individually, and so it does, I think you said it right. You give permission to the entire church. Go be Jesus.
Yeah, I think that is super great. And it's this podcast, this episode, listeners, I would say lean in now, like share this. Please share this, invite someone else to listen to it because this whole analogy, this is why we named our podcast Beyond the Breakwater. This analogy is foundational for everything that we are doing and will be talking about. And people have to understand it. So like this one, share it. Go back and listen to the previous episode so you can kind of assess where you're at from. Are you a harbor ministry? Are you out beyond the seas? Are you kind of teasing the thought of going beyond seas? And start somewhere by going beyond your office, going out into the community. Really listen for where God is leading you and who he might be asking you to interact with, whether it be in line at the grocery store. But be on mission, disciple for the purpose of mission and not just to disciple to stay inside the harbor.
So I'll give you one quick story that happened today. So I met somebody for breakfast and we prayed. And I noticed when we were done praying, others were watching. See, there's a simple example of just be who you are, beyond the breakwater. And you can make a difference just by something as simple as praying.
And just try. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I think we have a quick video for you to tune into if you want to see what water skiing on Lake Michigan looks like. It's pretty messy.
You don't want to miss it. It's really funny. You'll get a good laugh out of it.
And then we'll cue to the outro music here. All right, we just made it up above the seas and we're going. The coast is clear, but those skis are shaking, and they're shaking so bad, including the boat and the filmer, because the waves are just being tossed everywhere. So yeah, but we stayed up. I stayed up for, I think that was like 15 seconds.
Pretty good.
That was the longest
really
I could have gone. All right, we'll see everyone next week. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Beyond the Breakwater, a podcast of Elevate Community Ministries. Don't let the conversation stop here. You can email us at hello@beyondthebreakwater.org. We would love to chat with you, answer questions, plan a visit, and help you take your next step. We'll see you next week.